Hey there, Minnesota Vikings fan, to the Purple People podcast. I am accompanied, as always, by the lovely Adam Carlson.
I'm lovely and talented, and I'm a class act. I'm all those things rolled into one. That's this guy. And I'd like to welcome everyone to episode number 252 of the Purple People podcast. This one is titled When Harry Met Floyd, because everybody loves the Dumb and Dumber prequel. Unless you're on Rotten Tomatoes or any other website where they review films.
Which one? You know, there was... Well, I guess what was this?
All right, I don't know if you guys out there listening are having the same problems hearing or understanding Mr. West that I am, but he's cutting in and out real bad for me, and I'm assuming he's just talking about how much he loved that movie, and he hopes they make more sequels to the prequels.
Yes, you are correct.
But let's get started here, and we'll make a rundown with the quick hits. First of all, we've got Minnesota Vikings cornerback Xavier Rhodes, who ranked at number 66 on the NFL's top 100 players of 2017. Of course, this ranking is not based on their play from last year. It is a projection of how much current players in the NFL respect the players that's voted on by players. I personally thought that Xavier Rhodes would be a little higher on the list. I had him in the top 50 when I was guessing. But it's good for Xavier Rhodes since it's his first appearance on the top 100 list. He also made the Pro Bowl for the first time last year. So Xavier Rhodes may be fresh to this list, and that might be some of the reason why he's at number 66. But if he can keep playing the way he did, especially last year, he's going to skyrocket up that list a lot more next year.
He'll get himself a big fancy new contract from Minnesota coming up here really soon.
Oh, yeah, he's earned a nice, big, hefty one. The Minnesota Vikings have signed former Bears defensive tackle Will Sutton and waived defensive tackle Toby Johnson. As you guys know, I was a fan of Toby Johnson. I enjoyed what he brought to the team. He had some pretty cool preseason theatrics, diving out for an interception last year. Toby Johnson, I think, will get latched on somewhere, at least on a practice squad, get another opportunity. As far as Will Sutton, he was a victim of the scheme in Chicago. He got drafted into a situation where the Bears didn't really know what to do with him because at the time they were still in a 4-3, and now that they're transitioning to a 3-4, he's kind of lost in the shuffle because he's not an end in that system. He's not really big enough to be a nose. So Will Sutton finds himself coming to the Minnesota Vikings with a lot to prove because he has yet to get a sack in the NFL in 3 years. He's only got 60 combined tackles. He will need to step it up, but he is a little bit more of the insurance in case there's something going on with Sharif Floyd where he's unable to play. The Vikings want to know that they are able to do whatever it takes to have the depth, to have somebody capable in that spot.
Yeah, it's depth, it's for injury, it's kind of a, it's a low risk with the potential of maybe being like a Johnson. And he wasn't really anybody when we signed him. I think that's kind of what they're going for with this one.
Yeah, and he'll wear the number 90 in Minnesota. He posted a picture out of his Instagram of him wearing the jersey, which is pretty cool because people like jersey numbers and jerseys and the Vikings and purple and all that. Fancy, fancy stuff.
Yeah, correct.
I like all of it. I love it. Speaking of things I love, this is a story that I think is kind of fun because it's not something you see extremely often in the NFL these days. The Vikings signed guard Freddie Taggiola following a workout with the team during rookie minicamp. He was a guy who did not get drafted during the process, during the initial during the initial stages of undrafted free agency. He was kind of overlooked while other players, maybe a little less talented than him, got opportunities. But he didn't give up there. He kept working. He attended the Vikings rookie camp in hopes of impressing the coaches, and he did just that. He's also a very physically strong player. I believe that he had the most reps on the weights at the combine of anyone that he was working with in his position. and I think he set a school record as well in that respect. So he's a strong guy, and hopefully he'll get a nice opportunity here in Minnesota.
I mean, I don't see how anyone can complain about this team bringing in help, whether it be a starter or a practice squad guy or a training camp body for the offensive line. Like, they're doing a good job of just bringing in talent and seeing where this talent is going to fill out. I like that. I'm a fan of just pretty much any tooling they're doing on the offensive line right now.
I just love the story behind it. I love these guys that don't give up, that keep coming to these training camps and hoping of latching on even to a practice squad spot. These are a lot of these players' hopes and dreams to play in the NFL. And for them to get these kind of opportunities, it can be life-changing for them, even if they don't end up on the team that they're with or anything like that. Players can make a living on practice squads and earning their way through on the lower levels. So he wants football to be his life, and it's so great to see players like that get an opportunity. I love that. Love that kind of story. I'd like to welcome Tommy Gunn to the chat here, talking about being surprised that the Bears not drafting well. Yeah, well, I guess that kind of is a Chicago thing every once in a while, but even Chicago hits some home runs sometime. Sometimes it'll happen. Recently, ESPN did a breakdown of each round of the NFL draft and talked about the draft steals per round, and there was a Minnesota Viking that made that list, and it was wide receiver Stacy Coley, who was called a great bargain for the team in the 7th round. So far, I haven't heard a lot from Coley. I'm interested to see him during the preseason. Right now, basically, we're just sitting around waiting to see what happens. But I believe ESPN said that they had talked to a high-ranking team official outside of the Vikings organization who said that they could see him being a regular special teams contributor and a 4th or 5th wide receiver on the roster here pretty darn quick. So anytime that you can take a 7th rounder and turn him into a productive player, you know you're doing all right.
Definitely. Rodney Nuka is another one that I'm looking forward to, and seeing him develop for the team as well. So he'd have been the one I would have labeled as kind of, if I had to pick.
I didn't make out the name of the guy
would
you
be
said
our
there.
steal, Rodney Evans, the other wide receiver that we drafted.
See, it's still cutting out a little bad for me.
Nah, that's okay. You can move on.
But we're going to talk about Eric Kendricks because we all like Eric Kendricks. The linebacker helped to raise $20,000 to fight childhood hunger. I believe it was through the Sheridan Story, which is a really good foundation that helps fight childhood hunger. What it was the Sacks for Kids campaign over the course of the season. For every sack that Eric Kendricks got, people could donate, and every donation they made goes towards backpacks filled with food and a cash donation as well. So hopefully this is something that we'll see continue from Eric Kendricks. Him and his brother went and presented the big check and the backpacks at one of the local schools, but we don't have that in the notes here. But that was what happened there, and it's always good to see giving back, especially when it involves kids. It's kind of a soft spot for me. I love to see the good doings of players when they can give back to the community.
Of course, anytime we can work that into the notes, we love to do that.
For sure. Moving on, we have former Minnesota Viking Chad Greenway hosting a charity golf tournament, raising funds to help build a handicapped accessible playground at the University of Minnesota Masonic Children's Hospital. The Vikings do a lot of work at that Masonic Children's Hospital, and it's really great, as I've said, charity that involves kids giving back to the community, and when it's a hospital as well, man, it's always amazing to see. And Greenway's always been such a great guy, and even though he's no longer an official part of the roster for the Minnesota Vikings, he'll always have that attached to him. He's doing the Team 52 on the team's behalf this year for Super Bowl 52, doing a lot of that promoting. So it's not like Greenway's completely gone out of the picture. He's still representing the Vikings in multiple capacities, and this charity golf tournament is just another way for him to help out.
Yeah, you never know. And a couple injuries on the field, you might see Chad Greenway called back into action for the Vikings, too.
Oh, I hope it doesn't get to that point. I hope he can sit back with his family and enjoy everything, focus more on his family, helping out in the community and all that kind of stuff. He's a great guy, and
yeah, no doubt.
He was awesome for the Vikings, but I hope that he can settle down and relax now.
He's definitely earned his retirement.
For sure. And finally, for the quick hits, we have early Bovada betting lines, which I added this even though I know Mr. West does not care one bit about this. But if you're betting in Vegas, the Vikings are currently at 8.5 wins, which means a couple good things, actually. First of all, that means that Las Vegas sees the Vikings as a better-than-average team in the NFL. So at 8.5 wins, you got to assume if 8 is the median, that 8.5 wins will put them somewhere in the division race, as long as the Packers, Lions, or Bears don't run away with it, and I include the Bears, which I don't know why. Maybe the Bears will do something, I don't know.
Hey, stranger things.
But I do recommend, if you are putting some money down, I would take the over there. I got a good feeling the Vikings are going to win 9 this year, at least 9. 9 is the magic number for me. So at 8.5, I would take the over because I don't see the deterioration along the offensive line happening again. I don't see a lack of depth at running back or a lack of weapons in the passing game. I see the defense hasn't lost too much aside from Chad Greenway. So I'm taking over. I'm taking over if I'm betting.
I'd agree with you on that one.
Now here's a bet you shouldn't take. Dalvin Cook currently has the 4th best odds of winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. I would not put money on that. And it's not any knock on Dalvin Cook or anything like that. It's just that I don't think he'll get the same number of opportunities that Leonard Fournette, Christian McCaffrey, or one of the starting quarterbacks in any location are going to get. I just don't think that he's going to get that kind of exposure or touches. So I would highly, highly recommend not placing that bet if I were you. Just go put a little bit of money on the over on the 8.5, and I think you'll do okay.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you putting your money, Mr. West? In the bank?
Yeah, I'm putting it in the bank because I'm poor and I like my money. I think with Cook, really quick, I don't think he'll win Offensive Rookie either, and it's not because he's not talented, but he's going to start the season as running back 3, just because that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to be some split. I think that it's not going to be as heavy. Fournette's going to get a ton of carries.
Yes.
And Cook will have to make some really explosive plays with the opportunity he gets in order to even be in the running. And I don't like it. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But still, it's great to see Las Vegas showing a little bit about, okay, Dalvin Cook does have the potential to break through, and despite the fact that he might not get a lot of touches, they've got him really high on the list of offensive rookies. So that's kind of fun to see.
Yeah, I really am excited for this coming season. I'm always excited, but this year in particular, they've done a lot of really good in the offseason.
All right, so our main topic this week is one that happened pretty much right after we got done recording last week's episode, which is the way things always happen, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We've got
just all the time.
The Minnesota Vikings signing free agent wide receiver MICHAEL FLOYD. Now, if you aren't familiar with MICHAEL FLOYD, of course, he was the Notre Dame wide receiver who was drafted in the 2012 NFL draft. Arizona Cardinals, came to New England in 2016, and now he's with the Minnesota Vikings. Floyd, of course, has had a little bit of trouble off the field, but I can't really say anything about that because I've made the same mistake in my life, and people deserve chances to own up to what they've done.
Yeah, I agree with you, Adam.
So what we've got here is we have MICHAEL FLOYD, who has caught 78, or he's played in 78 games at the pro level, and he's caught 246 passes for 3,781 yards and 24 touchdowns. That sounds like a lot, but last year was really a down year for Floyd. He played in 2 games, had 42 yards, and 1 touchdown while working with Tom Brady. What was kind of cool was 3 of those 4 catches were for first downs. So maybe he can be that one of those guys that comes in and helps out to move the chains on third down situations or something like that. But it's kind of hard to imagine a situation where Floyd is going to enter in the rotation. It's going to be somewhere around him and Jarius Wright fighting for reps is where I feel this is kind of going to end up. And I don't know how that ratio is going to work out. And there was a time when the Vikings had almost nobody at wide receiver. So it's kind of cool to see the options coming through. I mean, one time we were praising that Devin Aromashodu was going to be, the big guy in Minnesota. He was going to make it all happen. And now we've got guys exploding onto the scene from the practice squad, late-round draft picks, some quality free agents coming in, and a rookie who should have a breakthrough season this year. He should. So adding MICHAEL FLOYD to that receiving unit does make it a little bit more dangerous, but does kind of close the door too, because that spot where we were wondering, is it going to be Isaac Fruchty, Stacy Coley, or whoever? Now it's kind of MICHAEL FLOYD's spot to lose.
Yeah, that's what I think too. It really does kind of secure, I think, the depth chart. Someone would really have to shine at preseason, I think, to be able to jump over top of him.
We have Malaya Reynolds in the chat here talking about how Dalvin Cook is going to kill it this year, 3 down back, and I'm really excited to see that. The one thing that I'm really loving about that is having a running back who can run out of the shotgun. I know I say it all the time, but not having a predictable offense where when you see where the running back lines up, you kind of know what's going to happen. I'm excited to not have that.
Versatility.
And I think that Cook's situation is quite a bit like the wide receiver situation, actually. The Vikings have accumulated so much talent in both sections where now you've got quality running backs lumped together. You've got a bunch of quality wide receivers as well. And you've got Sam Bradford, who set an NFL record last year for completion percentage. And there's no reason to believe that he can't do it again, since the year prior to that, he set a franchise record in Philadelphia for completion percentage. So if the Vikings want an accurate quarterback who can deliver the ball, they've got one. And Floyd's going to be a great target. Cook's going to be a great target. We're going to see the ball spread around in a lot of great, fun ways. I know I say it a lot during the preseason, but it's an exciting time to be a Vikings fan.
I think so too, Adam. I think you're correct.
I always have a lot of fun there. I think we posted a social media question, but I don't remember. Well, I don't have it pulled up, and I don't think you do either.
No, I forgot to pull it up.
But I believe we asked something about how the picking up Floyd was going to impact the other situations for the wide receivers. Scrolling past Brett Favre stuff, you and your Brett Favre. This Kyle West guy, he's always talking about Brett Favre and Randy Moss.
Yeah, you know.
All right, so the social media question was, after the NFL draft and offseason acquisitions, what do you feel, or what do you think of the additions to the Vikings roster? We got quite a few comments here, which are pretty fun. Luis Martin Lopez says, love it. Got a few day one starters in Cook and Elflein. Added depth at tight end, O-line, and D-line. Cook's a top 10 talent and will eventually take the reins and be the lead back for years to come. Adding Floyd is a huge acquisition because he's a wide receiver 3 at best, but his potential can far exceed that easily if he can execute. He goes on to talk more about blitzes and game planning and defense. It's a really thought-out answer, so if you are ever checking out the Purple People Podcast Facebook page, it's a great answer. I recommend you give it a read. Benny Myers says, I think we did great in the draft and hope Boringer and Treadwell can step it up this season. I'm still at the lunch on the Floyd deal. If nothing, I hope he gets his life back on the right track. John Dostal, he's a regular here Purple People podcast. He says, we upgraded at wide receiver because Floyd is better than CPAT and Johnson. Upgraded at running back and offensive tackle. We only got worse at cornerback thanks to Captain Munnerlin leaving. So we got to hope the young guys can step it up. That is the one spot where I'm really kind of worried, is that nickel corner spot. And I don't like that Captain left. I don't like that he signed in Carolina for such a smaller amount than I think the Vikings should have given him. But I'm not in the front office, and who knows? Maybe Mackenzie Alexander or another guy's ready to step into that role. You never know.
You got to believe in Mike Zimmer.
We've got Adder Noir saying, I think Spielman did an amazing job this draft, managing to negotiate his way into 11 picks without having a first-rounder, and then trading back up to nab Cooks. Picking a running back was a bit of a surprise, but overall he did a great job with limited resources. And, of course, he's talking about not having a first-rounder because of the trade to get Sam Bradford, which a lot of people still are on the fence about it, but I just don't see how it could have gone really any other way. Looking back at the situation without just folding on the season and giving up completely, handing over a first-round draft pick for a quarterback who set a franchise record for accuracy and then came to Minnesota, set an NFL record for accuracy. I just don't see how you can complain anything with giving up that first-rounder. So it's kind of how I feel there. Brandon Alice says, as long as we don't have the injuries we did last year, we should make the playoffs. And that is the absolute truth. I believe that. I believe this is a playoff caliber team, and it will take something fairly major to derail them. So hopefully something major doesn't happen. And Eddie Self gave the
quick... It's the Vikings, Adam. You never know.
Oh, yeah. Eddie Self gave the quick answer of much improved and got 2 thumbs up for it. I wish life was based on thumbs ups.
Me too.
Tommy Gunn says, I feel like all the people are so afraid that the nickel cornerback is going to be terrible because we didn't address it in the draft. Like, you want a rookie there? Well, no, but there were other nickel options in free agency as well the team didn't really address. But I agree with you. I mean, you can't really anticipate a nickel corner coming in and playing really well. I mean, there have been some exceptions in the past. The Honey Badger came in, and he did a fantastic job playing nickel, safety, wherever they wanted him. But that is really an anomaly. And I think that everyone here at the podcast will agree that when you bring in a cornerback to do such an important job in a defense, first of all, cornerback is one of the toughest jobs to convert from college to pro for. It's just almost a completely different game because you got to use a different skill set, and you're up against a completely different level of competition. So it's just insane to start with. And Tommy makes a great point there, but I just wish there was some way that they could have held on to Captain or brought in a little bit more established player. But like I said, maybe Alexander's ready to make the jump. I'm sure they have some plan in place since it wasn't the focus of the team during the offseason, but I'm interested to see what that is and how it'll work out. Moving forward, I believe here it says, I don't want to ask this question. She seems a little old now.
So a little bit.
So we're going to make up a different question for you guys, and we are going to talk about that instead, but we're going to keep it a secret because I have no idea what it is right now. So right now we'll just say it's a secret.
We'll figure it out after the show.
No, we already know, and it's a secret. Shh.
Oh,
but Kyle's got 5 for us. He's been starting this 5 series. I like 5.
That was actually last week. I don't have one for this week.
What? I got you all set up for a nice 5-piece segment, and then you go and poop on it.
It was a good segue. It was a really good segue. I can't even use it.
I tell you.
How about this? Top 5 Adam Carlsons that I know.
I hope I made the top 5.
Top 5, because you're the only Adam Carlson that I know.
Nice. I like that a bit. Quite a bit. Well, we are going to keep this episode really short because, to be honest, it's the off season. We've got a lot of exciting stuff going on with the Vikings, but it's not to that point yet in the preseason where there's a ton to talk about. We won't get to that until training camp starts, and there's going to be news and information flying everywhere. We're going to be learning so many new things about these new players. So for now, we're going to keep this one nice and short. And of course, we do want to take a moment to congratulate our co-host of the show on the birth of his new baby boy. Congratulations, Kyle Smith. Your life will never be the same again.
I'm very excited.
Absolutely. He made a baby. Well, him and a nice lady, I'm sure. I've never met her, but I'm assuming she's very nice. And they made a baby.
Yeah, I don't think he made it out of paper mache and like hot glue, Adam. I'm pretty sure it's like a tangible.
I tried to make one myself, but it just did not turn out well. It was a big old mess.
Shop class back in high school.
We have Malaya Reynolds in the chat saying Sam Bradford's a good quarterback, but he's not a killer like Teddy. When the game was on the line, we believe in Teddy. And Teddy was clutch.
Oh, I want Teddy back. I love Sam. I'm so torn. I love Sam. I want Teddy back, though.
Sam's been doing fantastic, but I don't know. It's so hard because I want to root for Teddy, and I want to root for Sam. I want to root for everybody. I want to be everybody's cheerleader. Can't I just love everybody?
Yes, you can.
Now, we have a top 5 letters here from Tommy Gunn, and I gotta take arms with this because none of them are the letter A. None of them. And A is great. I've got like 2 of those in my first name. Half my first name is A. I like that letter a lot. So get out of here with your W. Who likes W? W's suck. Stupid W's. Unless you're the Vikings, then you want 16 of them during the regular season and a bunch of them in the postseason. But that's all I have for this week, unless you want to add anything else.
No, I think I'm good.
All right. We'll be back next week, hopefully with Kyle Smith, who can give you a report on his new bundle of joy, as well as update us on what else is going on in his life. And we'll be back as well to discuss Minnesota Vikings football. I recommend in the meantime heading over to the Viking Age and checking out my work over there. I've been posting pretty regularly about stuff that we talk about on the podcast, so go check it out if you would, please. And, of course, we've got the beginning of June, the new season of Fear the Walking Dead starting up. So if you like The Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead games, or anything else The Walking Dead, I cover a lot of that over on Undead Walking. And I do have some more good news if you've been waiting for the Viking Age app. It has entered beta testing, and so far it's looking really good. So you shouldn't be waiting much longer for the Viking Age app. I will let you know as soon as it's available, and we'll share it up on the Purple People Podcast Facebook page and social media channels, so you can download that puppy and check her on out. And then we've got, you can plug whatever you want here. This is your opportunity to shine. Sell yourself. Do it.
Pressure. I can't handle the pressure.
Sell me this pen.
The pen is the best pen you've ever used. You'll write in ink with it. You can check my workout over on attackoftheblog.net, and that is what you should do. There is stuff on there.
There is some stuff on there. It's good stuff too, and it's not just there might be some sports related stuff. There might be some horror related stuff. Some cool product reviews. It's a little bit of everything. Recommend you checking it out. Right. And on that note, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here in the chat. It was a lot of fun talking to you guys. We kept the show short, but we're never short on love for the Minnesota Vikings. Thanks again for coming and listening, and stay classy, Minnesota.